Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Call 911. Call 911. Now. For goodness sake. OMG. It's on your speed dial, right? Wait a second. You think that this is like a new version of your iOS software? You know, Android, Oreo, Apple, iOS 11.24, or I don't know. Wait a minute. Okay. With all the shortcuts and widgets we have on our phones, all the customizable options of our smartphones, our so-called smartphones, why isn't 911 simply on your speed dial? Your speed dial. Okay, wait a second. I think that's a carryover function from the one-time ubiquitous presence of landlines. Not landmines, but landlines. Telephones with a cord that connected to the wall and relied on the outdoor hardware, the wires, these massive structures known as telephone posts, wires. And everything's wireless now, Bluetooth, but back in the old day, we had telephones with wires. Okay, I guess you understand I'm not a millennial by any means. And I do remember our somewhat coveted home phone. I even remember my childhood telephone number, 367-7240. Yes, Mama. Of course I remember that. That was our number from age 5 to, 33. And only because my parents moved here to Texas after Hurricane Katrina. So that's when they changed the number, of course. And I really don't recall a time when assistance for emergency situations was, I won't say a big deal, but I guess back then when I was growing up, even, recently, it's always been just like, a rudimentary call. Just call and, just 3 numbers, 911, and pretty immediately an operator would be on the line asking, how can I help you? Or what's your emergency? What's your emergency? Today that said 911 service, it is still available, along with all the other gallimaufry of other downloads, pre-installed apps, widgets, shortcuts, all on our quote-unquote smartphones, all for a claimed nominal fee. Of course, try this and you'll get ads, but for $2.99 a month, you can get the ad-free version. So we have all this stuff on our phone, all the clutter, but what do we still use it for, if we do at all? Personally, I hope that none of us need to call 911, especially on a regular basis, but stuff happens. Life happens, and this stuff which I speak of, it's called life. Hi, my name is Dawn Melanie, and I have MS, and it doesn't have me. Sounds familiar? I have relapsed and remitting multiple sclerosis. For now, I've had it for over the past 20 years and counting, and I must always recognize, always respect what the self-explanatory name denotes: relapsing, remitting multiple sclerosis. I may have attacks when my symptoms flare up, and these attacks are known as relapses. And sooner than later, after any said attacks, I look forward to a possible, not guaranteed, possible time of recovery when I have few or no symptoms. And this period of time is known as a remission, thus the term relapsing, remitting multiple sclerosis. These times of unpredictability frankly can be quite frustrating and consequently stressful. And because I pay attention to me, Dawn Melanie, I know that I am my own best health advocate. So I know that stress is my number one trigger for a MS flare up or exacerbation. Definitely several times I've been there, done that. Lost my hearing several times, like 3 or 4 times. I've lost my vision, loss of balance and coordination. All these things were manifestations of a flare up or an MS exacerbation. To many people out there listening, this sounds like I think it sounds like a warranted call to 911, of course, right? Lose your vision, lose your hearing, can't walk, can't talk. At least you're faced with challenges and difficulties in performing what most of us consider simple tasks at one point in our lives. It very well might be a situation where you have to call 911. But me personally, I haven't been in that need to call 911 for any complications dealing with my multiple sclerosis. I have been able to successfully manage my MS with a few of my own, I call them self-proclaimed pillars, and those are fitness, trying to live a healthy lifestyle, food, eat healthily, and have fun. So many of us forget to have fun, or we forget that we owe it to ourselves. I try to incorporate fun activities, no matter how small, but fun with my family and with friends. And doing these things, the fitness, the food, having fun, I do all of those things embracing my faith. So that's me in a nutshell. Eat, sleep, work out, have fun. Working out, attaining, well, I'll say it like this. My friend, she actually interviewed me, and she made a note that, my job is now to stay healthy and, be functional, work out, and things like that, so that I maintain my mobility and things of that nature, which I totally agree with. So my job is to, quote unquote, look good. Not only look good, but feel good. First, I think it's important that I make the distinction between egoist and egotistical. They are common terms that are typically and interchangeably used, often incorrectly. An egoist thinks that the world revolves around him or her. Pardon me, an egotist. Yeah. An egotist thinks, everything revolves around him or her. An egoist is pretty much a petty soul, disregarding the rights and needs of others. And sometimes not totally, but it's very synonymous with simply a selfish person. Only want to have fun, or only worried about themselves having what they want. Not really worried about other people. So that's the difference between an egotist and an egoist. Yeah, that's the difference. Regardless, they're labels. They're labels. And I warn you all, before your, perfunctory assignment of labels to anyone, check yourselves. People say check yourself before you wreck yourself, but check yourselves before you start assigning labels to anybody just randomly. You'll be surprised, or not, of what label actually applies more to you than someone else. Sometimes people have a tendency to project upon others labels which are related to characteristics which they themselves do not like. They don't want to admit, they're embarrassed about. So, think about that before assigning anybody a label. I just feel obligated to note a pretty common fact that the act of psychological projection, it's a defense mechanism that they subconsciously employ in order to cope with difficult feelings or emotions themselves are dealing with. It involves, like I said, projecting any undesirable feelings they have or undesirable emotions that they have about themselves onto someone else. Rather than admitting to or dealing with the unwanted feelings themselves. But I'm going to say to that malarkey, ain't nobody got time for that. Maybe so, but I ain't got time for that. I certainly do not. Uh, you know, if there's a fire in my home, you guys may have seen a commercial or a news clip. If there's a fire in my home, I want to make sure, first of all, I'm safe, and secondly, I want to mitigate any prevalent dangers. If I can help at all. But I'm calling 911. But if the fire extinguisher's like right there in arm's length, and yes, I know my husband's saying, you got long arms. I certainly do. But if I can reach a fire extinguisher and, it's there and something's on fire, I'm going for it. I'm grabbing that thing, I'm pulling the trigger, and I'm praying for the best. I don't know how calm I'd be or exact I'd be, aiming the foam stuff or whatever that comes out there. But, basically, hey, women and children first. So, I reckon, okay, I'm not out of order when I'm like, okay, I got to get out of here. but I'm just working towards, in a situation like that, I'm working towards self-perseverance, or, I want to come out alive. And hopefully I am quick, I am agile enough to operate, like I said, the extinguisher, and operate calmly and effectively and not panic. Now, that's probably easier said than done. I say this because we are all creatures of habit, including myself, even if we deny it. And because the human brain is so complex and layered when encountered with a sudden change, we can quickly adjust to the situation, but that's only true, or usually true, if the necessary adjustment is pretty much predictable. Like, we've gone to fire marshal, citizens patrol, fire marshal training classes to react to the fire. So just like a fire emergency, we are going to react appropriately if we are cognizant of the outcome and how we should behave, so that it's not, I guess, so we're not totally taken aback by the situation that arises. This is similar to MS, or an MS exacerbation. The surprise element, it exists. When it happens, it exists, regardless of regardless if you know about it or not. And my personal experience has been, if I'm prepared, I know, okay, you're going through a stressful situation, and you better be careful, Dawn. Something's bad going to happen. An MS, it may trigger an MS attack. So, I'm kind of like, oh boy, I better watch out. So, I can be prepared mentally. And so when the if becomes reality, even if it's unwelcomed, of course it's always unwelcome. I never want to be, loss of hearing, etc. But when the if becomes reality, I know that I've been better off than if I never saw it coming. Like, I was like, well, how this happened? I was doing fine. I wasn't stressed, but I can prepare myself mentally, and I'll be better off in the long, to deal with it, to cope with it. I kind of liken it to, now I've never been in a fight, but I kind of liken it to a sucker punch. It feels the same, get punched, I imagine it feels the same, but if I can brace myself, again, mentally, I know it's coming, and so the inflicted blow, it isn't so dramatic and not as surprising. You guys may have listened to previous shows, and a lot of times I'll say I focus on my abilities, because disabilities are, I think, one of those labels I don't want to embrace. I just focus on my abilities. Basically, every day I strive for what I want. Not, oh God, I have this or I don't have that. But I just focus on what I want, pretty much in life. I want to ask everybody out there listening to kind of be cognizant of your words, because the things we say, the things we do, are, I'd say, the starting point, a snowball effect of why some of us are not getting what we want. It starts with things that we say, and again, follows up with things that we do or that we don't do. So be cognizant of your words and always speak the things and do the things that you want, whether it be your health, relationship, occupation, job, anything. Just be cognizant of that. That's what I want to throw out there and pardon me, suggest to anybody out there listening today. I don't know if it was last week, but I spoke about how great of a engine or a powerhouse our minds are. They really are. And, like I said, don't speak negative words of what, how bad things are, but harness that power. Speak words of power, positive words. Help fuel the brain so that it's thinking good things and so that it's not stressed out and it's looking for and expecting the best, no matter what the situation is. Earl Nightingale said, whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish with repetition, that's basically going to be the result that we get. In short, we become what we think about on a regular basis. We're thinking it over and over again. Sure enough, it's going to come to fruition. That's going to become our reality. In short, we become what we think about on a regular basis. We're thinking it over and over again. Sure enough, it's going to come to fruition. That's going to become our reality. Now, contrary to that quote, Christian Nestel Bovey said, few minds wear out, most or more rust out. And I was like, interesting. MS is, it's funny because, MS is multiple lesions on our brain, so that's our mind. And to say it rusts out, it's kind of interesting when I think about it because, rusting is corrosion. MS is a degenerative neurological disease. So, I think about that. It's like, will it wear out or is it going to rust out? Again, I believe in feeding our minds with positive thoughts, good vibes, and all that kind of stuff. So as to, just like with our MS, if we're taking any MS therapies, or just meditating or our lifestyles, hopefully those are all encouraging acts to promote the wellness of our minds, not to further any deterioration, deterioration. Like I said, it's a deteriorating neurological disease. Now, I'm sure some of you out there are thinking, I don't even want to think about MS. So there's days I just wish it didn't exist. But unfortunately, it probably does exist, especially if you have the diagnosis and have the symptoms. It probably does exist. So, again, I just encourage that we keep our minds, keep ourselves and our minds engaged and interested in basically the happier parts of life. Don't look at any words that say disability, but look at your abilities and be grateful for those. Here we go with writing in our journal. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves of things like that are good in our lives. And simple journal, a journal of gratitude will help you remember the happier times. And this will, like I said, again, those good vibes will almost like power your brain to move forward and hopefully suppress any negative vibes and possibilities that will lead to a MS flare-up due to stress. I've read somewhere that someone compared us with the giving our minds knowledge and kind of continuing forward, almost like the mental equivalent of WD-40. Stuff in the blue and yellow can, squeaky doors, yada yada yada. There's so many ways to keep our brains quote unquote lubricated. I know MS has taken things from me where I can't do anymore, but I've lately, I know me personally, fitness, I'm not competing right now. I said I'm not right now, but there's things that little things that I've been doing lately to kind of keep my mind engaged. even my mind, it even just the things that the ways I've been affected. It's funny, writing. My hand, the intentional tremors, my handwriting. It kind of bugs me that my handwriting isn't as meticulous as it once was. But I've actually been taking time learning or relearning to write again, practicing calligraphy, things that kind of slow me down so that I'm not in a rush. So many times I'm trying to do 100 things at once, and well, we all know what happens there. We get in a rush. So, you know, again, my recommendation to everybody listening is to, slow it down, take some time to enjoy life, and you'll be amazed at how rejuvenating it can be. Just like, take a breath, go walk in the park if you can, just, maybe call an old friend, do some things that maybe you haven't done in a while. It'll be amazing how it'll make you feel. How it makes you feel. How it makes you feel. That's that's kind of my focus. Managing my MS. Hopefully you'll manage your MS or whatever you're dealing with. Manage yours. Your reality isn't the reality of anybody out there. Know that. Remember that. Your perspective on life, ways of doing things, it's yours. It's yours. Own it. We sometimes we fall into the trap of, again, worrying about too much of what people think about us or how they feel about the way we do things. Don't let that happen to you. Their thoughts are their thoughts. Yours are yours. That's what makes us unique as individuals. Every day we have a choice of everything that we do, that we don't do, and how we choose to do things. Pretty much it's a result of our thoughts. Our thoughts that are occurring. Like I said, think good things. Ponder, think what the good things that are good and happy things, because negative things will materialize, unfortunately. And I'm sure many of you agree with me and personally know stress is oftentimes the precursor to an MS exacerbation, and that we don't want. I know I don't want it for me. I don't want it for anybody. So as I close today, I present to you a challenge to something to do for the upcoming week, actually for the upcoming week, upcoming month, upcoming year, and ultimately for life. We all experience ups and downs, downs, ups, and not all of us have like less than, pardon me, make sure I said that correctly. Most of us have less than stellar memories. That, in other words, we forget things, CRS, can't remember stuff. So I encourage you all to grab your journals daily, as often as, it comes to you. But daily write down the top of your journal, to-do list. Take care of yourselves. Grab your journal materials, whatever it is, electronic, paper form, but make a note of that, because you know what? Remember I said call 911? I pray that none of us have to call 911 in the future. But put down, call 911. And hopefully that'll remind you that you don't want to call 911. What you want to do is you want to take note of things that are occurring in your life, how it's making you feel, how you're contemplating reacting, hopefully how you're not reacting in a negative way, and how it's going to further your well-being or existence with MS or whatever you're dealing with in life. Remember that the language that we speak, the actions that we do and perform, ultimately are going to affect our life and how we feel and how our existence is going to be. That is going to determine our reality. What we say, what we do, what we don't do. That's going to determine our reality. So own it, stand behind it, and know that you are in control. Again, I have MS. It doesn't have me. Hopefully, whatever you have, hopefully it doesn't have you. Hopefully you can be stronger than that. That's why I pray for everybody out there listening to be stronger than whatever they think is holding them back from getting to any goals that they're trying to attain. Again, MS or anything else. I hope that you can all be stronger than that. Be cognizant of language that you speak, actions that you do, and vice versa, of course, that you don't do or that you don't speak. And remember that neglecting your recovery, I say recovery because, MS, relapse and remitting. Remember I said the periods of relapse is when I have few or no symptoms. That's that time where, you may be doing better, but even after you're better, and even say you're doing things like that, if you kind of forget, remember I said I'm better if I'm prepared for the sucker punch, for the relapse. If I know I've been stressful and I'm aware that, oh boy, something bad's going to happen with MS, I can kind of be mentally prepared. So that's why I said every day, think about it. Think. I know you don't want to think about MS. I don't, but think about your health. My health is number one on my to-do list every day, and I hope it is yours also. Not just physical health, but mental health and spiritual health. So neglecting that is a disaster, and unfortunately, I know personally, it can lead to a relapse of whatever you're dealing with and trying to overcome or get through. So just want to throw that out there again, and get your journals for the starting now, and document those things so that because like I said, we all have less than stellar memories. This has been Dawn Melanie, and I thank you for joining me for Managing Self. I do hope you'll tune in and listen next week. Until then, do have a blessed week. Have a blessed week, and I hope we all can be mind strong. Mind strong.